Members of the OG Army, get those wallets unfolded. Coming up next on the OtherGround live stage, prepare for an eargasm by Passive J and Big Dalton.
Well, good afternoon, and welcome to yet another edition of OtherGround Live. I'm Passive J, that's Big Dalton over there. Say hello, Ryan.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is July the 10th. It is a Friday, and that means I am 2 claws deep and ready for shenanigans.
Well, that is excellent. I see the OG Army is forming up in the chat box. Always glad to see you guys here. How'd your day go, sir?
It was kind of a long fucking day. Was able to get off call about a half hour ago, so I had a little bit of time to actually, decompress before this shit today. How about you there, Jay?
Not a bad day. Let me think about it. Yeah, no, it was actually pretty good. I didn't have much in the way of stomach issues, which always makes it a good day. Work wasn't too bad. We had a really nasty thunderstorm roll in right around 1 o'clock, which made the inside of our clubhouse be used for basically the first time since we've been open. We've had really good weather like that. If you like hot, and dry. Basically, since we've been open, they've been able to eat outside for lunch and dinner every fucking day. And this is the first time we've had any kind of substantial weather. And it was pretty substantial for about 5 or 10 minutes. It's rained like a motherfucker. And it was windy. It did something I hadn't really seen before. We have something in the center of the country club called the Fountain Court. It's surrounded on all 4 sides by the country club, but it's open at the top, and as you might have guessed, it has a fountain in it. And we set up tables for lunch there and occasionally dinner. And it's nice because the top of it's screened in. They have wooden beams going across it, and when we have these screens that you basically put on top of the wooden beams that screen in the entire top of it, so that you don't get bugs in there. And for the first time, it was so fucking windy, it blew like a couple of them into the air and down into the Fountain Court. So luckily, nobody was using the Fountain Court at the time because it started raining like a motherfucker like 2 minutes before that. But it was quite the exciting time.
Yeah, sounds like it. Nothing like some awesome, terrible weather.
Yeah, it's interesting while you're watching it, but generally speaking, I don't want it around because, I don't want people's property or lives to be fucked up. And if nothing else, it makes driving home a pain in the ass afterwards. A couple of lights were out and there's branches in the road here and there. I got home okay. It wasn't a big deal, mostly because I leave early enough now that there's not a ton of traffic going on. I leave at 4, not 5. It makes a big difference. But yeah, that's never fun. And you never know which light's going to be out. The reason it wasn't a big deal is because they were minor lights. I could cross a couple major fucking traffic intersections, and if those lights are out, it's going to take you like a half hour just to get through that light if you're lucky.
Yeah, traffic, fuck that. Kind of glad I don't have to deal with it for another, month and a half?
Yeah, traffic's just a drag. We end up spending so much of our life driving to places we don't really want to go to and then driving away from them as fast as we can. I don't know about you, but for me, it's always the afternoon drive that's always more frustrating to me because I go in so early, there's no traffic at all in the morning. And part of it is obviously there's a lot more traffic in the afternoon, and part of it's just, I'm done with the fucking day. I just want to go home. So it seems like everything takes longer. Everyone's fucking slower. Everyone doesn't know how the fuck to drive. When in reality, most of it's probably me just being done with dealing with people for the day.
Yeah, it's all your own neuroses.
Oh, I'm sure part of it is the fact that people are fucking idiots on the road. And it's weird because, you'll drive. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's all in your head, Jay. All in your head.
It's weird because I drive not a lot of miles, but it's a lot of time because the traffic and the fact that without disclosing too much about where I live and work, there aren't any highways between where I work and where I live, and it's about 17 miles. So you wouldn't think it'd be much of a trip, but almost all of it is, actually all of it is surface streets, and most of it's like 35 or to 40. There's no roads that I drive on that go, I'm sorry, there's one road that I drive on that goes 45 for about a mile before I turn onto another road that goes 40. So the 17 miles takes a fair amount of time because you're not going that fast.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
it sounds amazing.
Well, I'm sorry. I forgot. I remember the second half of that point. So the point being, I'm on the road a fair bit. You'd be surprised at how often you get behind the same motherfucker. Like this week, I've been behind the exact same guy 3 times. I'm like, how the fuck does that? Oh, I'm sorry, 2 times this week and 1 time last week. My apologies. How the fuck does that happen? There's this. I don't live in the boondocks. There's fucking tons of people around. One road near me, they said just a regular surface street gets 22,000 cars on it a day.
Yeah, so what you're really trying to tell us is that you're low-key stalking someone and you're just trying to cover your tracks now.
I have no clue how that would work. If so, I'm motherfucking amazing. Apparently, my guess would be there's someone else who's just as regimented about their leaving as I am, their times and such. For me, it's the earliest I can punch out is 3 minutes before the top of the hour, and my relief normally gets here 15 minutes early to give us lots of overlap time to, so I can tell her whatever she needs to know and all that good stuff. Since she's prompt, that normally leaves me like 5 minutes before 5, sometimes even 10 minutes before I have to punch out, ready to go. So I'll walk around the club, talk to my buddies, this, that, and the other, and then punch out at exactly 3 minutes to the top of the hour. So apparently somebody else has got this going on too. That's the only way I could possibly be running into someone on the road that often.
So you're saying there's somebody else that's that psychotic and neurotic.
It's entirely possible.
Good for them.
But anyways, I blather on about stuff that doesn't really matter much. What do you got today, sir?
So first one, and this will be just kind of a quick one, but did you see that the Green Berets have their first woman soldier?
Shit, that was one of my topics. Yes, I did notice that. Do you agree with the current OG theory that they took it easier on her to make sure that she passed? That seems unlikely to me.
I kind of doubt it. Like when you get into these special forces units, there's not much of that. Like if you take like basic, well, I was going to say like basic training as in basic training, not basic training the thing.
Right.
Like, yes, I can absolutely see them, having slightly easier, women's standards. But if you start talking the SEALs or the Green Berets or the Rangers, like, yeah, they're not going to take it easy on fucking anyone.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was surprised when I saw it. I always thought it'd be the exact opposite. For the most part, I don't think they want them to pass.
Well, yeah, they are there to fucking weed out anyone that shouldn't be making it. So I don't think they give a fuck what gender you are.
No, not if they're doing it right. But I was going to say, if there's any bias at all, it'd be in the opposite direction. These old school people that don't believe a woman should be in there. So I could see possibly that kind of bias trying to prevent women from getting in. I can't really see in a military setting the opposite being true, them lowering the standards and letting them squeak by on things when they really shouldn't. But the theory is because of the entire new social thing going on where it's the politically correct thing to let them in. But as you mentioned, I don't really buy that theory.
Yeah, same here. I'm with you. Like, if that's an OG theory, it's fucking wrong. Like, that's not something that they would be doing in a unit like that.
Yeah, you would assume so. Have you ever checked out some of those training programs?
Yeah, I've seen some of it. Obviously, the SEALs is like the kind of the gold standard for absolutely fucking people up. There was a good documentary years and years ago that followed one of the SEALs classes. And that was an interesting watch.
There was a series on, I can't remember what TV show it was on, but the entire series was about different special forces training. And each episode was a different one. So Navy SEALs, Green Beret, Army Rangers. I think like there's a, not the National Guard, is it? Is it a national? No. There was like a special medical school type one for that. So basically, you're special forces, but you're also a medic. And there's been several different other types of schools that aren't as well known, but still one of those technical, fucking special training courses. And they were all to varying degrees nightmarish, I imagine, to go through. Some of them were obviously either easier than others, but all of them were. It was a really interesting show just to watch all the different techniques that they had for like weeding people out, because it was all a lot of it to the same purpose. Most of them spent several weeks trying to beat the fuck out of you before they even bothered to teach you anything.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. You got to get people and you got to break them down, and you got to build them up from square one. And then there's the entire idea of like, if you are taking this on and this is what you're going to do with your life, you're going to have to learn to just embrace the suck.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's funny because in basic training, and like regular basic training, they're not really trying to teach you shit. That's the entire thing is basically trying to weed you out. I mean, they have you do courses and they teach you like, the proper way to shoot a gun supposedly, and and they have you throw a grenade. And there's a book called, I think it was called Smarts, which is a really big, a thick little book. It was only about 4 inches by 4 inches, but it was like a half an inch thick. So it was this little manual about all the stuff that you needed to know to be an Army soldier. And I kept it for years and years and years, and I lost track of it maybe 10 or 15 years ago. And you were supposed to know all that shit, but not really. There's basic stuff that that they want you to know how to do, but I imagine 80% of it you'll never use after basic training again, at least in a regular situation. Like how often does the average Army soldier have to learn how to put up the 2-man pup tent between him and his bunkmate bunkie to be able to sleep overnight in the field, and where you need to know where each and every piece goes inside the tent, and where the bedroll goes here and this goes there and this goes there. I imagine in the actual Army days when you're on a base, and depending on what your MOS is, most of those people don't use most of that shit again.
But you realize why that's a thing, right?
Oh yeah. Just because you never know, it's a war. The guy that was at one point a Army clerk in an office is now fucking got a rifle in his hand because it's World War fucking III, and it's basically any man that they can put out in the field or some shit like that, I imagine.
No, it's also the fact that they are teaching you that you have to be able to competently work as a team. You have to be able to remember step-by-step instructions. It has nothing to do with that actual task. Like, yes, you may actually use it, but it's ingraining how to think. Like, that's really what they're doing during basic is, yes, you're going to have to recall a bunch of shit that doesn't matter to anyone, but they're conditioning you to remember that every detail matters.
Right. And that's what I meant when I said that, they're not teaching you shit. Basically, they're just trying to weed out the people that aren't supposed to be in the Army by doing that, because there are people that aren't going to fit into that system. And that's basic training is where they get rid of them. And then then AIT, Advanced Individual Training, was where they actually start teaching you about what the fuck you're actually going to do in the Army. At that point, they start, and of course, not all those skills are going to transfer over to the civilian world, but if you're smart, you picked one that would. I wasn't smart. I picked one that wasn't. I picked MLRS, which is multiple launch rocket systems. I wanted to drive around basically a tank, but instead of having a turret on the top of it, it had a whole bunch of fucking missiles you shot at people, because I make poor choices.
Well, that and the fact, if you wouldn't have gotten kicked out, like, you probably would have never actually done that, because I don't think your body could fit in a tank for long periods of time.
You would think that they would have thought about that before they actually hired me for it. They do have different what's what I was looking for, standards that they check for, I would think. I know they do now, at least for the Air Force. They used to only let certain height people in. Now they will let you in, but you can only qualify for certain pilot jobs, because they measured every fucking cockpit that they had. And now when you try to join the Air Force, they do a measurement of you, compare that to those measurements, and then they tell you which fucking aircraft you are able to fly in the Air Force.
Yeah, that's what you would think. And then you would get deployed, and then all of a sudden it would be, Private J, infantry.
Well, yes and no. I mean, they can't do that in the Air Force. The Air Force doesn't have an infantry.
Well, you weren't in the Air Force, though.
Right.
I'm talking for
right.
your choice. Like, you would end up getting there and be like, yeah, no, infantry, go at it.
Well, I think that they have some safeguards against that, at least in peacetime, where they because I wouldn't think so, because for example, the MOS that I picked, they give you a signing bonus for that. I never got it because you have to finish AIT for it. So I'm assuming they wouldn't send you to something that you don't qualify for while paying you money for it.
Yeah,
Maybe I don't know. Maybe they're roomier than we think.
yeah, I highly doubt it, Jay. But regardless, you didn't make it anyhow, so
Yay!
C'est
I
la
mean, not
vie.
yay, but yeah, c'est la vie. Such is life. What else do you got, sir?
So this one is just fucking irritating. Did you see who may have gotten like over $3.5 billion of the PPP loans?
No, this one I missed. Well, what are we talking about?
So, you know, the loans that went out at the same time that the stimulus bill went out, there was a organization that pulled in over 3.5 or allegedly around $3.5 billion in loans, at least 1.4 that have already been verified. That absolutely should not be getting fucking taxpayer funds. Any guesses who it could be?
Well, is it Pepsi?
No, the Catholic Church.
Well, that would have definitely been my second guess. Jesus, did I miss something? Or are we not supposed to be? Aren't they supposed to be not businesses? They don't have to pay taxes, all that good shit.
Yeah, so they're completely tax exempt, but apparently they found fucking little loopholes here and there to pull in billions of dollars out of the settlement or out of the stimulus package. Pretty fucking awesome, huh?
No, not really. And I try to temper my comments about that because I think, as we've mentioned before, I'm not religious. Never have been, and I've really never been in a fucking church, really. So I don't really feel like I can judge people on on their beliefs and stuff like that. But that seems not cool.
Yeah, I regardless if it's the church or anything else that's tax exempt, you should not be getting fucking taxpayer funds.
Yeah, I don't know. That's 100% true. That's an entire. I don't understand why they don't have to pay taxes. They're a business. That's I mean, it's not like they don't collect money from people and are employed. I mean, it's not a volunteer service. All these clergy people get paychecks, I assume.
Yeah, this is the thing. The Catholic Church brings in billions of dollars every year, and they don't get taxed a goddamn thing because they are tax exempt. So now here they are taking these fucking loans to, pay people or whatever the fuck they're actually doing with the money from taxpayer funds. So they don't contribute and they're taking out.
Right, exactly. And they're more than welcome to do whatever they like. You can't have it both ways, really. Either one or the other. Either you're part of that system or you're not part of that system. But we don't make those rules, so there's probably not much use getting all worked up about it.
It's still completely fucked. Just like, if you think about it, like there were some examples of some of the pieces on here. So like, there was one church in Orange County in California that just put up a fucking sparkling glass cathedral. It was a $70 million church, and they got at least $3 million in loans.
Jeez, well, for glass cleaner, I assume.
Apparently something, but yeah, it's just, and there's a bunch of these examples, and it's absolutely ridiculous that you have these mega churches that bring in billions of dollars, and then they're taking loans that really were meant for small businesses, and they don't even pay taxes.
Yep. As I mentioned before, people's religion is their own business. I kind of wish I was religious. It seems like it's a great comfort to some people. But that entire thing is a different thing. That's not religion. That's finances, and that's people finagling for shit that they probably shouldn't be getting. So, which doesn't seem very churchy to me, by the way.
No, I'm with you on that. But yeah, so just final thought on that one. Absolutely, fuck them.
Yes. What else you got, sir?
So this is an interesting one, and it absolutely sucks for the guy that it happened to. So there's an American sprinter. He runs the 200 meter, and he thought that he broke Usain Bolt's world record.
Oh my, it's quite the achievement. Why was he mistaken?
Well, it turns out that they set him up at the wrong depth in his lane. So he actually only ran 185 meters.
Oh, that's such a letdown. I mean, realistically speaking, though, he had to known something was up, right? Because that's a substantial difference. So obviously, his normal time was nowhere near, Bolt's record time. So he just figured he was extra fast that day.
He must have, because he came in 0.2 of a second faster than the world record, which is quite a bit when you think about like a sprint.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he he ran the race. He had to assume that he was at the right, at the right depth. So he does the sprint, he wins the race, shows up on the fucking board, the time, and everybody's congratulating him for a world record. Until somebody went back and like looked at it and it was like, oh, yeah, you only ran 185 meters there, bud.
I hope he at least found out before he left the meet that he didn't get the thing. Can you imagine that? They had call him the next day. He wakes up from his fucking hangover from partying the fucking night away, rather. Telling everybody he just broke the world record, calling all the media outlets, telling people, everyone how awesome he is. He wakes up the next day. Yeah, we were wrong. Hope you didn't tell anybody yet.
Yeah, that whole thing. At least he didn't go out and like get a tattoo that night.
Yeah, not like Shia LaBeouf. Huh.
Yeah, that idiot.
Yeah, that's just amazing, dude. You don't. I mean, yeah, he's committed to his craft, but what about his next fucking role? Basically, he has to play the rest of his career with his shirt on, covered in makeup or CGI if they want it bad enough. So that's a really, really fucking poor choice on his behalf. It really limits his career somewhat, don't you think?
Well, I mean, it doesn't. He's a big enough name that it's not going to stop anything. Like, think of other guys. Like, think of who has a bunch of tattoos. Like, think of The Rock.
Oh,
the biggest action star, and he has a fucking entire sleeve on one arm, and his other arm is like, he has a giant tattoo on the other arm now too. So I mean, they have to do the same thing with him quite a bit. Obviously, he's a little bit higher tier now as far as making money than Shia LaBeouf.
Right.
But fuck that guy.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. Fucking, I just still think it's a poor choice, just because it limits his career a little bit. But whatever, right? Let's see. What else you got, sir?
So a couple other things. Here's kind of a no shit headline. So federal officials are worried that that Maxwell chick, Epstein's friend, is a suicide risk.
No, you don't say.
Yeah, so they're just coming right out. Like they're getting the excuse out there nice and ready.
Well, yeah, I would assume so, right?
Yeah, the actual, let's see. Yeah, the lawyers came out for her talking about how she's not Epstein and that she intends to fight everything because she's innocent. But then the feds come back and say, yeah, she's a suicide risk.
I don't know, dude. Fucking, they can't, like we talked about that before. They can't be that blatant, right? There's no way.
They're setting the stage. So either she's going to end up suicided, or she's going to magically get COVID and just go downhill real fast.
I refuse to believe that. I really do. I really hope that that's not how our world is. I talked about that before. That I don't want to live in a world where that's a fucking thing.
Yeah, you don't want to think it's a possibility, but if you believe Epstein didn't kill himself, like, if she has that much information, she might, take a take an accidental fall and stab herself in the back 8 times.
God, that's so crazy. It's like a movie, dude. Fucking, and that's why I said I don't want to live in a world like that, because if that's what the real world is like, then fucking it's God, so many other things could be like real too. That's now you're talking about like the old conspiracy theory thing. If that's true, how many other conspiracy theories are true?
Right. Yeah, and it probably is. And then also, Jay, did you see my note in the chat a little bit ago?
I took a screenshot. I can't see anything, dude. All I'm seeing is some idiot pop into the listeners back and forth. The chat box is not being affected any.
Oh, it is for everyone else. So every time he joins, that shows.
Yeah, they was doing that yesterday, but now I can't even see that. So I don't really know what to do about that. I've already got him blocked.
So do that.
He can't.
Also, go into his profile and get that information as well, like the actual link to his profile.
There's nothing there, dude. But I'll do that.
Yeah, and then go ahead and just send that along. We'll see if we can't just get him off of the platform completely.
Yeah, boy, wouldn't that be a bummer for him, huh? All right, well, give me a second. I already got one screenshot. Let me go ahead and save this one as well.
If not, it'll also obviously be, out on the YouTube feed too. So.
Oh yeah. All right, there you go. That's done. I'll take care of that after the show is over.
And with that, we should probably actually say like another story here that there's this really weird little guy that goes by the name of Forrest Spliffin that also is probably a suicide risk because he's not getting his attention.
Yeah, no kidding, huh? It's I don't know, dude. It's fucking weird. It's like he flipped a switch and turned into a fucking weirdo. He wasn't like that at first. He seemed like a cool guy, and all of a sudden he went like cray cray. I don't know, dude. Some people just need attention. I know this. I'm one of them, but I don't.
Are you going to say hi to Sly, by the way? Because I see him as having called in.
Oh, I'm sorry, boss.
I'm here.
I was doing all this stuff. Oh, hey, Sly. How you doing, boss?
I'm good. I was just waiting my turn. I was just, I was doing everything but cartwheels in the chat, trying to get your attention. But Ryan informed you we can't even chat because it's like being spammed.
Well, you see, I saw that
Forrest
yesterday.
has gone, full blown, mania here.
Yeah, well, you see, there's nothing else I can do. Yesterday, I could see them doing that. Now I see him popping up on the listener thing, but I've already got him blocked. He can't post in the thing, so all he's doing is logging in and logging back out again.
And I'm telling you, somebody has a way to log people out because me and Drag got logged out, forcefully.
I have no clue, dude.
It told me I was kicked.
Yeah, no, I have no. I can't speak on that, dude. When I click on him, my option is like, let me click on fucking like there he is again. Let me click on him. My options. My options are look at the profile, unblock him, or add him as administrator. That's the options that I have. So I wouldn't know about being able to kick somebody off. It doesn't give me that option.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but
I'm sure you're
probably we should have just let him have some fun to begin with. And
fuck that guy, dude! I'm tired of him being a fucking baby, dude. He's been doing this for fucking weeks, and I played along for a while because, like I said, I thought he was an okay dude. I didn't realize why he was doing what he was doing, but I went ahead and let him go. But the last couple weeks, he's just being an asshole. So I'm done with it. We'll go ahead and report him to PodBean afterwards. I've already got.
Give him a chance first before you do that, because
he had fucking several hundred chances. I posted a whole bunch of times asking him why he had the attitude that he did, and I asked him what the fuck I did wrong. I was like, dude, what's up, dude? You don't like me all of a sudden? What's your problem? But there's nothing else I can do about that. And
I just don't want to see him keep doing this or get worse, because two guys I know just joined. Mm-hmm. Team Evil Bad Guy and Rock G.
Yeah.
It's gonna scare off everybody that likes to come here, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And some people are saying it's not Forrest. It doesn't matter if it's Forrest. Whoever the guy who's doing it right now is the guy I've got blocked. So I don't care about fuck who you are, dude.
And with his behavior on the OG, like these past couple days, it's 100% Forrest.
Yeah, I think so too.
Well, at this point, that doesn't matter to me. It could be two separate people or one separate person. I don't give a fuck either way. Both of them are being assholes, so I'm done playing around with them. I'm sure PodBean will be able to help me out on the PodBean section. On the OG section, I've already ignored the guy, so I don't really give a shit about them there either. So either way, it will be a good time. So what else you got there, Ryan?
Well,
All right,
hey,
cool.
we
I'm
have.
gonna hang up now. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, good to talk to you, Sly, man.
And guys in the chat, Team Evil, Rock, Ruthie, Dejuicer, all the regulars. All right, bye, guys.
Yeah, so for all the good people, and obviously Sly falls into this, we will do what we can to get rid of the absolute idiots trying to ruin your experience. And that's really all I got to say about that. Like, that's the thing. Like, I can just not pay attention to the chat, and like I won't see any of this shit. But like, I want you guys to like enjoy your time here, which you do. So whoever it is, like, everyone should kind of just figure their pieces of shit should probably go run directly into traffic.
Don't let it get to you too much, dude. I'm used to this kind of shit. They crave on attention, so that's why I left it alone for quite a while. And now that's why I'm going to leave it alone after this. So, just in closing, go fuck yourself.
Exactly. So
All
other
right,
than
what
that,
else you got, boss?
so I think we're really limiting what countries we can go to, because I just saw today there is a man. He's one of the 123 executions so far this year in Iran. He is getting executed for drinking alcohol.
Oh, for Iran, huh?
Yeah.
That seems excessive. They don't allow that at all there, huh?
Yeah, Iran has executed a prisoner for the crime of drinking alcohol despite repeated warnings against it.
Wow. Well, goddamn, dude, they warned them, right?
Just think of this, though. So, like, this guy got killed for drinking, and we just set people on probation for having kiddie porn. Rapists serve less than 10 years. And this guy got the death penalty for a bottle of scotch.
God, at least, I hope it's at least good scotch. Holy shit, right?
If that's his drink of choice. I don't know exactly what Iranians prefer as far as drinks, so...
I'm betting it's probably not good scotch, actually. Dude, I just feel sad, that there are countries like that, dude. So no one should have to live like that. I mean, if the guy wants to drink, let him drink. We take a lot of our freedoms for granted because, people are like, oh, we're not nearly as free as we used to be. Well, it's a comparative thing. I mean, look at that. The people in that country, I'm sure some of them are perfectly fine with it, but there's tons and tons and tons of people suffering in countries like that where that's not really their thing, but they don't have any choice.
Right. It's some of these like weird like punishment and law systems are just so fucking out of whack. Like, how do things like that happen?
I don't know. Hold on a second. No, little dog. Go on. You can't be on my lap right now. Go bug your mama. Sorry. I don't know, dude. Fucking, it's hard for me to comprehend because, we live in a country where that's not even close to, what's going on around here. So I don't know, dude. Fucking, that's just fucked up, really.
Well, also in the news of fucked up, and this is more just like, how can this actually be a thing? Remember a few weeks ago we talked about like a fact check that had to be done that was just absolutely ridiculous and dumb. But here comes the newest one. There had to be a fact check put out that the little metal strip that is in medical masks is not actually a 5G antenna.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, so apparently this is going around social media. I don't know if you've seen it or not. You seem to have some pretty idiotic people on your Facebook, so this may pop up at some point. But there's this video circulating around where a man claims that the metal strip is a 5G antenna, and of course it was 5G that causes COVID.
Oh, I see now. That's brilliant. I never suspected. Fucking... It's a good thing that most people don't even wear the medical ones, and the people that wear the ones with the strip in it are actual fucking nurses and doctors. So, I see their plan is to spread the COVID to the medical profession first, and from there to us. Brilliant.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but we seem to get more and more of this absolute ridiculousness, like all the time. Like, are people getting dumber? Or is it just the fact that we now have access to so much information that you can find someone that will agree with anything? So then you can just embolden your absolutely incorrect, like, feelings about things. You okay there, Jay? It sounds like you're furiously typing.
I am furiously typing.
That sounded like some angry keystrokes.
Oh no, those are my normal ones. Sorry, I'm reading the chat for a moment. Yeah, and there's so many stupid people out there that doesn't really surprise me. And not all of them are in my Facebook feed. That's not fair, by the way. I don't know, dude. Fucking I think that's my theme today. I don't know. Fuck. Well, what else you got, sir?
Let's see. What one piece of good news, and this will just be a second, but piece of good news: Jorge Masvidal weighed in and made weight this morning. So championship fight is ready to go. 2 people on the card missed weight. They were just undercard guys, so who really cares? But Fight Island is a fucking go.
You know, I've been thinking about it, watching the different interviews and stuff, and I'm not sure if I like Masvidal. What's this deal with him calling Usman fake?
Everyone's called Usman fake. So that actually started with Ben Askren. So, like,
in what regard?
Usman takes.
I don't get it.
So Usman has taken kind of this whole thing about, like, he's like, and I don't want to go too much like into part of it, but like he puts on this act now as being this like super tough guy, like pretty much straight from Africa, like all of this shit. And he's been here forever. He used to be known, instead of Kamaru Usman, everybody knew him as Marty. He's from like Nebraska back when he like started wrestling. So like, yeah, he's been, apparently he's kind of a two-faced person in that regard, as far as like, he was pretty much one way up until he got like famous. And now he's just this complete other person. And if you think the people that are closest to it, like Covington used to be in the same gym as him, Masvidal used to be in the same gym as him, Askren knew him as a wrestler. Like, these are all people that were close enough to him that when they say like this guy is, you know, he's kind of two-faced, he's kind of fake, like, I would put stock into it. I wouldn't necessarily put stock into it if I heard it once, but when you seem to hear it from everyone, it's more than likely the truth. And he's a great fighter. I don't have anything against him, but like, if I hear Masvidal come out and say he's fake, like, that's something I've repeatedly heard about the guy, so I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to shit on Masvidal with that.
Oh, well, that changes things a little bit. I suppose I was colored by my previous slight dislike of the guy anyways. I just don't like how he interviews. He always seems fucking mean. Like he's not a nice dude, really.
Well, I mean, this dude grew up in fucking Miami. He started fighting on fucking undercards of, you know, Kimbo YouTube videos. Like, of anyone. Like, if you think about, like, so think about the Diaz brothers, right? Like, you actually listen to them and everything, like, they don't sound like that nice of dudes either.
No, that's correct, yeah.
But, like, they're super sincere. Like, that is them. And that's one of the things that kind of endears them to people, is even the fact that, yeah, they might not sound like the nicest guy out there, but goddamn, do they seem genuine? And that's almost kind of like a selling point. That's the same thing with Masvidal. Like, you get what you see with him. Like, he's not going to be the two-faced guy.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just not a fan of that myself. This, you know, like his entire, super necessary, like his entire hashtag war on Twitter. You know, I was like, man, really? I don't know. I guess I tie too much of my interest in fighting to the different fighters' personas. So, like, when it's a dude that I wouldn't like to hang out with in real life, it makes me hard to be a fan of him as a fighter.
Well, I mean, he's wrote it to being like, he might be the biggest star in mixed martial arts right now, with, you know, McGregor having been away. And like the super necessary thing, the funny part is like even Ben Askren likes it. Like he appreciates what Masvidal is doing, and Super Necessary came from the extra shots that he got in on Ben Askren. Like if you're able to convert someone that you just absolutely, battered, like you're doing something right.
Or Askren's smart enough not to be a bitch after that and realize it doesn't help his brand any.
Thing is though, is Askren's a good enough shit talker that if he wanted to take the other route, he absolutely could. But like he sees it as well, and like I think the overall opinion of Masvidal of like taking the last probably like 2 years of his career, like a lot of people are coming around on him and love the fact that like it just seems like he's a genuine dude. Like this is him.
Yeah, I suppose, and Homelander pointed out that he made weight just like he assumed he would. And which surprised me a little bit because 20 pounds is a lot of weight to take off in short notice.
Well, and especially when he just got out of, so like number one, it was what, like Sunday that he flew into Vegas, got his test, passed, then has to fly all the way to Abu Dhabi, gets there on, what was it, Monday, Tuesday, whatever it was, then has to be quarantined to his hotel room for 2 days, and then can actually, like, leave his hotel room. Like, this guy was at a huge disadvantage of being able to, like, have a normal cut.
Well, and I guess 20 pounds isn't a huge amount for that weight class, but still, but under the circumstances, it was a lot.
In a couple days, cutting 10% of your body weight, that's not easy to do. Like, I've had to do cuts like that before, and you feel like shit.
So he'll definitely be at a disadvantage tomorrow.
Yeah, like, and I think he probably realized this, and you hear him when he was talking about, like, the fight going into it. Like, I think he's going to be out there and try to end it as quickly as he can, and if he can't, then Usman is going to be like, he's going to wrestle fuck him a bit. But, like, if that fight goes more than 2 rounds, like, I don't think Masvidal has any chance of winning it.
Yeah, and it is being a 5-rounder. Not that he's completely unfamiliar with that now, since he did the entire bad motherfucker belt for 5 rounds. Oh, well, it didn't go 5 rounds, did it? Wait,
no,
I can't
it didn't.
Was it a decision?
No, they stopped. Remember, they stopped it because of how Diaz was cut up.
Oh yeah. That's right, because whenever that happens, Diaz brother says he didn't actually lose.
But that's one of the crazy things about the Diaz brothers is, like, doesn't matter how cut up they are, those fuckers are still gonna go. That kind of sucked that they stopped it. Like, yes, I can see why they stopped it, whatever, but it would have been fun to keep going because, like, he wasn't ready to stop and he wasn't getting stopped. So yeah, that was kind of too bad.
Right. And it's just it is too bad because I understand where they're coming from, but like if it's bleeding into your eyes, it becomes a safety concern. But on the other hand, if the fighter doesn't want to stop and he doesn't have any problem with it, well, then let him keep going, dude. To me, that's a little more realistic. If it's a safety concern where he's gonna fucking bleed out right there in the fucking cage, yeah, go ahead and stop it. But I didn't realize, like, they don't stop, or how they'll stop it if like an eye swells up really bad. I don't think they should stop those fights. Not if the fighter wants to keep fighting. I'm blind in one eye, so I start out every fight like that. So, I mean, I assume they just wouldn't let me fight in the UFC, huh?
Yeah, I don't think you would be cleared.
Didn't Michael Bisping did it, but didn't he say something about like fucking having to trick the doctor or something?
Yeah, it sounded like he was having to do some shit to kind of get around that. That's why he never came out and said it until he retired that I can't see out of an eye. Like, we all knew one of his eyes was fucked up, but like I don't think any of us knew that it was like fucking blind in an eye level.
Right. See, that's what I mean. And he was able to fight professionally with one eye and win fights. So I think that stopping a fight because of impaired vision is not really like a legit stoppage. In the real world that these MMA fights are somewhat simulating, that shit doesn't happen, obviously. So as long as the fighter's willing to go on with it, I don't think they should stop it for shit like that.
Well, and if you were watching the fight, right, like the longer that fight goes, the better Diaz ends up looking. Like that's kind of their MO anyway. Like he wasn't that close to getting stopped. It wasn't like he was out there just taking a ton of damage and not dealing anything back. So yeah, I could absolutely see a world where, hey, let him go back out there, but hey, I guess that's not the way that the sport is governed right now. So hey, it is what it is.
Wasn't there a rumor that Nick Diaz actually had surgery to remove scar tissue so that he wouldn't get cut up as bad?
Well, it's the same thing that Vanderlei got.
Oh, was it? So that actually happened, huh?
Yeah, like that is absolutely a thing. Where they'll go in and
fucking crazy.
Fix some of that scar tissue. Also, like there are even people out there that have gotten some like reconstructive surgery, like some people that are naturally more prone to cuts. Mm-hmm. Like just based on their bone structure, there are surgeries you can do for that too. Like really anything you can do to make it to where, you know, you're not going to get busted wide open when someone hits you twice.
Wow. I wonder if that means I'd bleed easily, because I've got a whole bunch of facial scars. Some of them fairly large, like larger than you see on the MMA fighters anyway. So does that mean like if someone busted me in my cheek really good, that thing would split open or something?
If you have a bunch of scar tissue on your cheek, absolutely.
Yeah, it's like on the side of my cheek, you know, like, well, you've seen where the scar is. I've posted pictures before. So that thing could open up, huh? That's kind of scary. That's a big fucking scar.
Well, yeah, if you have build up of scar tissue there and it's right over a bone, like, yeah, if someone keeps tagging you there, you are more apt to get cut open. Like someone gives you a really good elbow to the cheek, yeah, you're probably going to be cut to hell.
Well, it's a little below. It's a little below the eye socket. You know. Well, you've seen where it is, so it's not like it doesn't feel like there's bone directly under it. But obviously, if they hit me hard enough, that'd be fucking it, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing.
Give me half a second. I'm going to save screenshot again. You know, I do almost all of my editing on MS Paint. It's kind of sad, really.
That doesn't surprise me at all. It definitely seems like a you thing, not like not necessarily utilizing Photoshop.
Oh no, that's way too complex for me. No, I often take screenshots of my computer because I play Magic the Gathering, and like when you get a badass win, you want to show your friends. So like I'll occasionally take a picture and then post it on the Magic the Gathering like thread on the OG. So that's about one of the things I know how to do.
You fucking nerd. Magic the Gathering. God damn.
Yeah, that's a fun game, dude. It you know, everyone's got to have their hobby. So I play it online. I don't play the paper game. I've told you about that before.
Yeah, and it's still it's as pathetic as it always was.
Yeah, whatever, man. I wish I would have kept my cards from when I used to play the actual card game back in like the 90s and early 2000s. Those are worth a fuckload.
Yeah, how did that become a thing? Were they that rare?
Yes and no. See, the thing is, you know, just like it's like collecting baseball cards, except you play a game with the baseball cards. Most people didn't have the foresight to like not play with their cards, especially when it first came out, and no one realized that it was going to be like a collectible card game because that wasn't a thing. You know, it was just a new idea. It's kind of like playing D&D almost, but it's with cards. And there's more to it or less to it, however you want to look at it. But so people would buy these cards, open up packs, and make decks and play each other. And no one thought to think that 20 years later, this thing is going to be worth a shitload of money. So most of the older cards are gone, either through play or, you know, get thrown away or whatever. And then once people realized that they were starting to be worth something, you know, it changed the complexity of it. So that's why the newer the card is, the less it's worth, because it's way more likely that someone saved that fucker. Now, and there were people that realized that might be worth something, and so they do everything from like, you know, not playing them at all, or like putting like little plastic sheaths on all their cards or some shit like that, you know, to protect them from play. But the vast majority of them just fucking played with them.
I still just don't get how they became so goddamn collectible and expensive. I guess some nerds have a lot of money, huh?
Yeah, which is funny because comic books, with the rare exception, have kind of went the opposite direction. most comic books aren't worth shit. And don't get me wrong, most Magic cards aren't worth shit either. But like I have a deck of cards from back that I saved from back when I was playing, and there's like 4 cards in it that if they were in mint condition, I think are worth like about $250 each. Even in poor condition, that one deck of 60 cards I have, because it is in poor condition, I played with all that shit, is probably worth about $1,000. It's just nutty.
Yeah, that's well, yeah, I guess same thing with like the other shit, right? Like, aren't Pokemon cards worth a fucking shit ton too?
I would assume so. I was never into that, so I never followed pricing. But Pokemon's even way more popular than Magic the Gathering, so I would assume so. A lot of it depends on when it broke. If people realized that it was going to be collectibles, like for example, that's why Cabbage Patch Kids aren't worth shit because everyone thought they were going to be worth shit, so they went out and bought a ton of them and collected them. Or like Beanie Babies, same thing. Beanie Babies aren't worth fucking nothing. There might be a couple really rare examples that might be worth something, but all those people that spent thousands of dollars on their Baby collection thinking they'd be able to sell it later lost all their fucking money because a whole bunch of other people did it at the same time. Collectibles are all about supply and demand. If the supply is too high in the start, there's never going to be a demand for it.
Holy shit, Jay. That's called economics.
Exactly. Well, to answer your question on the Magic thing, there was not much of a supply, and because the game became more and more popular, a pretty high demand for it. And that's offset by the fact that, and this is Magic the Gathering people were pretty smart about this shit. They decided, to have their what they called tournaments and game nights and to attract people's interest. And what the reality of that was is they wanted people to keep their cards current. So they have their standard rule set, because you got to remember there's Magic cards from the 90s that are so you can't obviously play a game with all that fucking cards. Well, you could, but Magic doesn't want you to think you can. So what they have their standard format, and it only includes like the last 4 to 8 expansions, and every so often they rotate out the old expansions, which forces anybody that wants to play Magic on like a competitive basis to buy the new expansions every single time they come out to keep current. Because if they wait like a year or two, they can't play with any of their cards. They've all rotated out.
So basically, it's just nerd heroin.
Yeah. Now, of course, they have something called historic rules where you can use whatever cards you want. And lots of people who play on paper or even on the game do that because that's an option that you have. But if you want to play any of the competitive things like their tournaments or all that good shit, which both in person and online you can win shit, or any kind of competitive nature, you normally have to play the standard rule set, which means every 3 to 4, basically for every 4 months they come out with a new set of cards. And then and then once a year they rotate out the four oldest sets. So at any given time you have between 4 to 8 sets to choose from. Like right now we're in a time period where they've released a whole bunch of the new sets but haven't gotten rid of the old ones yet. So there's 8 expansions you can pick from. Here in September they're going to add one more expansion and rotate out the 4 old ones. So all these cards that people have and they've collected for last year or 2 are going to be worth nothing.
Okay.
As far as playable goes, collector value, they still have value if you bought the paper ones. Online, obviously, you're just shit out of fucking luck. You have a card that you can't play unless you want to play a certain game type anymore. But obviously, on paper, if you collect it, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Sorry. What else you got, sir?
I don't know. I think I just had a fucking nerd aneurysm. By your very, very in-depth, step-by-step review of how Magic the Gathering works.
There you go. I'm nothing if not informative.
So, goddamn. Really, last thing I have, and this is just some scumbag LAPD shit going on. But did you see that 3 LAPD officers are going down for like 56 felony charges for falsely labeling people as gang members?
Oh, shit. Really? Tell me more, sir.
Yeah, so there was these 3 LAPD officers that so they're getting charged with conspiracy, filing false reports, preparing false documents for court, all sorts of shit. Basically what they did is they just pretty much flagged people as gang members to be able to, either get easier searches or other shit, but like, yeah, basically just being super fucking corrupt.
Jesus. Why? Why would were they arresting people and they thought they could get more charges to stick if they labeled as gang members? I mean, did they have ulterior motives, or were they making money at this at some point? I don't understand why you'd bother to do that. You already got them arrested. You want them more arrested, or am I not understanding it properly?
Yeah, so it doesn't go super in depth of like their motivation behind it, but I think like part of it is, yes, it's going to make it easier to get convictions. It probably made it easier to go and get, like search warrants and shit like that. Like if somebody's, flagged as a gang member, like it's much easier to just, that pull that person over for questioning and search them and shit like that.
Okay. So it's going to sound weird, but their hearts were in the right place. They were trying to arrest criminals. But yeah, you can't do that shit. The entire justice system depends on the cops being honest, and shit like that is fucking obviously not helping the cause any.
Yeah, it really just sounds like, three corrupt cops. They were in the same unit, but it almost seems like honestly, it almost seems like they were copying like the plot of The Shield. Where there were this just team that just kind of renegade, does whatever the fuck they want, and they finally got caught.
That's so weird. That's like a movie.
Yeah, it really is. Like, I don't know how that shit went on, but yeah, those guys are absolutely fucked. Like I said, it's like over 50 charges of this shit, so they're probably going away for quite a long time.
Well, and I think, which is also another theme of the show today. Well, good, fuck them.
Yeah, and I'm sure that like their prison stay is not going to be fun, considering there's probably people there that they falsely labeled as gang members.
Yeah. I assume they'd be in protective custody for their entire prison career. I assume.
Yeah, they'd pretty much have to be. Like you go in for all that shit, being a former cop. It's probably not going to be conducive for your health to not be in protective custody.
Yeah, I would assume so, yeah.
So you got 3 minutes for all of your topics that you did for a day, as opposed to me, which I'm not even supposed to be the topic guy.
I know. Let me do it. Well, let's see. Did you see Amazon is banning TikTok for employee phones that have access to Amazon Mail?
That's probably a good call.
Yeah. So basically, it's the United States versus China, the tech wars at this point, because they're afraid that it's a security concern, and all employees have until Friday to do so.
Well, I mean, it was smart. Like, China was able to come out with an app, just a stupid fucking social media app, and it got a bunch of traction with kids, so everybody ended up using it, and they're just sitting there farming data. Like, it was like, you have to give kudos to China on that one.
Yeah, it was pretty smart. Well, and that's not the first time this sort of thing's happened. There's like a face app rolling around last year that lets you age yourself, that everyone said was a horrible idea because it allowed the app to access to all of your personal information, and that just kind of went away after a little while. But so it's not the first time that people have been releasing apps like that, and the last time I think they thought it was China as well.
Well, and you have to think about things, right? Like, so Facebook and Twitter and all these other apps, like, you have to wonder what they're doing in the background to people in other countries, and really us. Like, we know that they have all of our data, but like, you have to wonder, right?
Oh, do you think, like, I don't know. I mean, it depends on if they work with the government or not, because I assume it'd be the government that wants that kind of information on other countries. Right.
But again, you have no idea. Like, some of this stuff could definitely be tied back to the government and fucking doing all sorts of crazy shit.
Oh, God. No. Oh, no. Now we're back to the shadow government and conspiracies and a crazy world that I don't want to live in. So, once again, I hope not. I hope that shit's not true.
Jay, the frogs are gay!
Yeah. You know what? On that note, I think we're going to go ahead and call it like 25 seconds early. What do you think, boss?
No, we're going for another minute here. In fact, we're going to go a minute over now.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Just because you're a sumbitch.
Just because I'm a son of a bitch. Well, here's an interesting one. Did you see that Robert De Niro is apparently running low on money?
How is he running low on money? Shouldn't he have just like residuals from fucking everything?
Well, supposedly he invested a lot of his money into businesses in the hospitality field, like restaurants and hotels. So despite the fact that he's supposedly worth 500 million in total, right now he's doesn't have any money coming in. The reason this is pertinent because his ex-wife is fucking suing him. Yeah, for several different reasons. One, it's ironic. She's suing him for two reasons. One, she wants to break the prenup. Because the prenup says that she got like a $6 million apartment, $500,000 in cash, and he paid her $1 million a year in alimony. The but here's the thing: as long as he made 15 million or more a year. So the reason he's claiming poverty and saying that his lawyer is saying that he only expects to make about 7.5 million this year. So the payments to her should obviously be lowered as per the prenup. She's suing him for that. Plus, she wants to break the prenup and get him for half of his supposed $500 million.
So I think I really only have 3 words to describe that entire situation, and those are fuck that cunt.
Okay, that's kind of what I was thinking, but I didn't want to be unreasonable. Holy shit, dude! You're getting somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million a year. Normally $1 million, because obviously on a regular year, good old Robbie is probably making way more than 15 million, but he's claiming he's only going to make about 7.5 million, so she'll probably get about 500,000 a year. Yeah, 500,000 a year is not enough. God damn, dude. As from what I understand, it's not like they were married all that long. So it's not like she's a wife from 20 years that supported him, or 30, or in his case, like 40 or 50 years that supported him through the lean times where he was a struggling actor. She hooked up with him when he was already fucking rich. So that's why there's a prenup. So, and it was, as I consider that a pretty generous prenup, don't you think?
Yeah, like, I'm sorry. Like, at that point, you don't deserve shit. You did not help build that fucking fortune at all. You're a goddamn latcher on. Fucking go be self-sufficient again like a normal human.
Yeah, exactly. And once again, that's a pretty generous fucking thing. A $6 million apartment, that's got to be a pretty nice apartment. I'm assuming it's in New York, so it's probably not like a real $6 million apartment, but it's got to be nice since fucking Robert De Niro had it. $500,000 in cash, that's nice. And then another $1 million a year, and you're not happy with that? Holy shit! Come on now, don't get greedy. You already won the fucking goddamn lottery basically by marrying that old man.
Yeah, it's just she really was just out to take advantage of the old dude.
I would assume so. I'd have to look back at the circumstances of how long they've been married. If they've been married 20 years, this is a different conversation than if he's married her within the last 10 years, obviously.
Yeah, regardless, that entire fucking that situation as it applies to fucking everyone that goes through that shit. Like, it's just so ass backwards the way that we do things. Like, I'm sorry, it should not ever be the situation unless you really are like completely cohabitated basically forever and you're both pulling in, half of the lifestyle. It should never be one person gets fucking half. Like, there should be some sort of like way to make sure that people are getting kind of their weighted share.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, it depends on how long they've been married. Like, I've been married 3 years now. Clearly, my wife does not deserve half of my house if we get divorced. Yeah, I've had it for way longer than that. I've been making payments for way longer than that. In 10 years, should she get half? Well, probably at that point, right?
No,
or at least or at least enough that a substantial amount of it, because she works too. She puts money in the pot. I make more money than she does, but let's not be petty about it. I think after a certain point, she could probably deserve half. Whether, I don't know. It depends. I guess the time would depend on who you ask. Is 10 years enough for get half? 20 years enough? Depend how much more did I bring to the table before when she married me? It's not like I was rich, so there wasn't like a ton here to start off with. So Yeah,
I don't know. I've never been a fan of the like person getting half thing, because most of the time it doesn't work out that way if you actually looked at kind of everyone's lives. But that's why I'm just not going to get fucking married. Screw that shit.
You know what? I always said that too. I never figured I would get married. You know, I was 43 when I got married, so obviously I did it later in life, and I'm perfectly happy with it, dude. It works out well for me. I like being married. It's a comfort to know that I have somebody in this crazy world where you can't really trust fucking nobody. I can trust her. I know that.
You think so?
I think, yeah. My wife's a sweetheart. She's a weirdo, but she's a sweetheart.
I think we've already gone over that. You know, she is secretly a serial, killer. So, yeah, you have probably a little bit of time left before your next malady that finally takes you down.
we were joking about that today. We were talking about her credit card again. I said, she goes, well, if you do die on schedule, I will need credit at some point. And I'm like, yeah, so you got to think this shit out.
Goddamn. Well, now I think we actually are okay to cut it off. We went an extra 7 minutes. That's right. 7 goddamn minutes.
Shit. Well, okay, in that case, I want to thank the OG Army for showing up. It's always a pleasure to have you guys here. Hopefully we'll work on their problems and get them resolved. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's nice. I do appreciate you guys having you guys here, but this guy doesn't realize we get fucking way more downloads than we get live shit. So all he's doing is amusing himself for a fucking hour. It doesn't really affect the show any. I would say our live listeners to downloads is basically 10% at this point. So, okay, dude, if it really makes you feel good to do that, go ahead, sir. But regardless, you guys are our core audience, and I would definitely like to fix it if I can. But if not, dude, if you guys have to give up and just download the show and listen to it, I completely understand.
Or you can always go to YouTube. Like, we also have that live feed going. So if it gets too crazy, you can go over there, and at least there, when we have crazy people that pop in, I can ban them there, and it doesn't show people joining and leaving. So at least it won't interrupt your chat.
There you go. You could always do it that way as well. But regardless, I believe we'll get it fixed eventually. If not, like I said, you can always do YouTube or listen to it pre-recorded. But we'll work out these problems. Other than that, that's all I got. What do you got, Ryan?
Yeah, so I got 2 things. Just kind of a piece of housekeeping for tomorrow. So tomorrow we're on at the normal time. We will kind of be doing a pseudo fight companion with Jay until he decides he needs to go to bed. So hopefully, Jay, you can at least stay up till like 8:30, maybe something like that. But then we'll actually cut off for a short break, and then we will come back, and I will ride with you fuckers until the end of the fights. So we will have a good old-fashioned OG fight companion where Jorge Masvidal will baptize Kamaru Usman.
We shall see. What else you got, sir?
The only other thing I can think of, and this really just goes out to the people that actually support the show. I say this in the most loving way possible. Fuck all y'all.
All right, you guys have a great night. We'll see everyone tomorrow at 6. Bye-bye.
Screw you, hippie!